Previously on Dream House. The sweat equity kicked into high gear.
Everything's hitting at the worst time possible.
Just as a new baby was about to arrive.
The exact worst scenario that we envisioned is exactly what's happening right now.
Now there's just 3 months left before the construction loan expires.
The more I'm thinking about our schedule right now, I'm absolutely terrified.
Work in the vineyard is heating up.
That turns into a full-time job. I have a full-time job.
And missing the deadline could bust the budget.
Like $22,000. Bang, right off the top. It's just not all gonna get done in time. There's no way.
Nearly 10 months after work began.
Yay!
The drywall is finally going up in the downstairs bedrooms of Stephen and Shannon's dream house in Northern Virginia.
This is fantastic!
We're almost there, and that is pushing me.
Yeah, the dream's definitely coming true.
The Mackeys plan to live in the basement of their new 4,300 square foot timber frame home.
Oh, this is awesome.
And use the upstairs as a wine tasting venue for their new vineyard.
You know, if she's up there with the boys, she can just look out the window and see me out here poking around.
I'm running the tasting room, the event side, all of that. Steven's gonna be making the wine and running the vineyard. My biggest thing would just be able to be home with them once they come home from school and not have to worry about childcare. Ultimately, if we were just working for ourselves, working at the vineyard, that's the dream.
But until the vineyard turns a profit, Stephen and Shannon must hold down their full-time jobs as event planners.
We only get a fixed amount of time away from work, and we have to work within those parameters.
We have to keep going full bore ahead and juggle everything at once in order to pay for everything we're doing. I mean, I definitely get worried about our upcoming mortgage.
And until the dream house is finished, they're squeezed with their 2 boys and all their winemaking equipment into a tiny 1-bedroom rental.
We will never find anything in that house again. We should just throw a match in it and close the door and leave. The boys are finally gonna have a room.
But the house is already running more than 4 months behind schedule.
During the entire course of the building of this house, everything takes twice as long, gets started late.
And there's just 12 weeks to finish the house before the construction loan expires.
And that's when we have to have all of this stuff done by, or we have to go through another closing. We have to get another loan from the bank. You know, closing costs alone are like $22,000. So to go through another closing again and redo that, I mean, that's bang right off the top.
Stephen has no choice but to jump ahead of the drywallers and start tiling the main floor around the tasting bar.
This is gonna be the men's bathroom.
And now, the new tile is at risk of being damaged by the drywall work.
I would never tile the floor before the drywall went on.
But drywall is taking much longer than expected.
First time Richard and I talked about the drywall, he said that the whole thing would be done in 2 days. We came in yesterday. It took him a whole day to do a room and a half.
It's taken a while to hang this because of the beams, trying to keep as much of the drywall mess off the beams.
So now, Richard's saying it'll take a week to do the drywall.
And that means work on the house is about to compete with work in the vineyard.
Our winery consultant's coming over today. We got to start talking about pruning.
You guys are ambitious, there's no question about that. Just because you've bought the land and you planted the grapes doesn't mean you know how to do it yet.
Come April, man, when those vines come back to life, that turns into a full-time job. And I have a full-time job. The vineyard's another full-time job. And building this house is a full-time job. There's just not enough hours in the week.
And money is even tighter than time.
When did you get this?
Yesterday.
I'm sure we needed a tool of some sort, but the tools he's pulling out lately are a little extreme.
Like this $300 tile saw.
What? I buy tools that I need to get the job done.
Especially when last night he was saying, oh, I don't think we can buy the king-size bed, and I don't think we can do this, and I don't think we can do that, but it's all going to tools. That doesn't sound really good.
something's out of whack. I mean, that noise is coming from inside of this thing.
Right.
The blade's not turning. Why me? I mean, that thing sounds like it got rocks in it, doesn't it? I guess I gotta take it back. In all the how-to books, you see picture 1 and then picture 2, and they never tell you that it takes like an hour and a half to get from picture 1 to picture 2. It's just not all gonna get done in time. There's no way.
2 weeks later,
Oh my God, we've got new ovens, yay!
the 2 matching ovens will go in the kitchen behind the wine tasting bar, which will allow the winery to host weddings and bring in additional business.
You can do weddings or events there, so hopefully that'll definitely bring in additional business above and beyond just the wine. I know we got tiling to do, but this is pretty cool.
But the ovens can't be installed until the tile and drywall are finished.
You're just at the mercy of a lot of people who may or may not care about getting the job done in a timely fashion.
And Stephen and Shannon are nowhere near finished with the tile work.
I'd say there's a high probability that we're going to be moving into a 85% finished house. There are plywood floors somewhere, things not painted.
And the progress is about to grind to a halt.
Making wine is where it starts.
The vineyard needs work.
Vines need pruned back every winter to manage what's called the vigor. You don't want too much canopy during the growing season. It affects the taste of the grapes.
With everything else going on right now, it's kind of nice to be able to get out here and do this, even though the timing of this is not good.
And there are over 3 acres of vines to prune.
We're actually gonna have to dip into savings a little bit and hire some labor to come out here and help us prune the rest of these big vines. You know, we had hoped that we'd be able to do it all ourselves, but just having too many projects in the house, so we're gonna need some help.
The more I'm thinking about our schedule right now, I'm absolutely terrified that we are not going to make it in time.
At this point, I honestly don't think the house is gonna be done by May. The only thing I can say is if you plan on building a house, don't be in a hurry, because it ain't gonna happen.
And as the drywalling drags on, the tension intensifies.
Quite honestly, we thought we'd have been living here by now.
And there's more pressure than ever to finish the dream house.
We got a 50-50 shot at getting in there right now.
Nearly 300 days after breaking ground,
This is what we'll be doing every February and March for the rest of our lives.
pruning the vineyard is competing with tiling the house. The sweat equity is kicking into high gear just as the vineyard is about to come back to life.
This is where you really determine your yield for the next year, what your growth strategies are going to be.
But Stephen and Shannon hope to save $15,000 by installing all the tile in their dream house themselves.
Tile work is very labor intensive.
All 900 square feet of it.
A head tile guy can make anywhere from $75 an hour on up.
They're also doing their own interior design work to save money.
The lighter one. I still think we should rag the darker one on top of the light, just to give it a little bit of contrast and some texture to it. I think that'll be the right choice.
But the painting can't start until the drywall is finished.
You know, timings are indicated and deadlines are promised, and nothing's ever hit on time. I don't think we've hit one deadline on time this whole project.
And the construction loan expires in just 2 months.
I had a talk with Ron and just let him know how concerned I was about timing and how close we are to, you know, really needing to get the occupancy permit.
He's getting a little bit stressed because he's seeing the end of the tunnel coming up real quick, like he's running up against a wall.
Time has definitely slipped, and we'll be right down to the wire, guaranteed.
I just said, May 9th is what it is. because now they, definitely seem to be taking it a little bit more seriously.
1 week later,
Oh, wow, they even got inside the dormers.
the drywall is almost finished in the great room surrounding the wine tasting bar.
They even got around the star. Look at that. That looks great. Wow. We can finally start painting this bad boy. Get in.
And that's not all.
It's a mini toilet. That I gotta see.
The tiny toilet will go in the kids' bathroom downstairs.
How cute is this gonna be? A little itty bitty toilet. That is adorable.
But the toilet can't get installed until Steven finishes the tile work in the bathroom.
He's supposed to be doing, the bathrooms and the kitchen.
May 9th is actually not an accurate date for what I consider the drop dead. I would say it's probably the 3rd or 4th week of April. We need to apply for the occupancy permit and give ourselves that little bit of buffer in case something needs to be redone.
We're down to the wire. We know already we're not going to be finished with the house by then. It's just not going to happen. But we're scared.
And their tiny one-bedroom rental is getting smaller by the day.
Good boy.
Especially with a sick toddler in the house.
I'm sitting out in the car with Duncan because that house is so small, and Tristan desperately needs a nap. I know. And if he sees me walking around or hears me at all, then he wakes up. So Duncan and I came out here for a little bit.
But nap time doesn't last long.
Oh, wait, this is the delivery.
Another load of appliances is about to arrive.
Here we are waiting for the appliances. Of course, the standard 1 to 5 window, and it's 4:30, and I'm still not here.
The delivery includes 2 dishwashers and 2 wine coolers for the tasting bar.
Yay! ×2. We don't have anywhere to put those. Nothing's ready yet for it, so I've just got to find a place to stack it.
2 refrigerators have to be stashed as well. 1 for the tasting bar and 1 for the family's kitchenette downstairs.
Perfect. Thank you. Take care. Thank you. I'm a lot more scared, I think, than Steven is. He's just trying to act like everything's okay so that I don't freak out. I know that. We've got a month and a half to get all of this done. I don't know how that's going to happen.
And with time running out, they break ground on an equipment building for their new winery.
We won't be able to get our occupancy permit if those guys are still out there working on that.
And the budget dodges a dirty bullet.
There's always people looking for dirt, and there's always people looking to get rid of dirt.
It's taken almost 3 weeks longer than expected. But the drywall is finally finished in Steven and Shannon's dream house.
After doing a walkthrough and watching the drywall finishers do their thing, I was really happy with how all the drywall turned out. I mean, the guys did a fantastic job.
And that means the new walls can be primed for paint.
With painting and appliances coming in, now we're getting down to the meat and potatoes, and it's feeling pretty good.
But there's less than 2 months before their construction loan expires.
Quite honestly, we thought we'd have been living here by now, but just because of the schedule slippages and just, what I would call a lack of intensity from a lot of the subs.
And every month, it's another $1,300, $1,400 that we have to spend on the rental where we could be spending it here.
As far as having the entire place finished by May 9th, no, I think that's pretty much futile at this point. The question now is just making sure that it's done enough to have the bank and the county happy. That's pretty much what we've lowered the bar to right now.
And the vineyard still needs pruning.
What we want is either 2 vines, 2 lengths reaching this wire.
Okay.
Or going out about 18 inches.
Even Shannon's mother is pitching in to keep the new vineyard on track.
That looks like a good one.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. It really is, especially now the second grandchild on top of the move, living out of a cracker box, 2 dogs, a cat, you know. I don't think they have a partridge in a pear tree, but I mean, you're getting to that point.
And there's about to be even more pressure.
Doug, our consultant, knows of a guy who's starting up his own vineyard, and he's very interested in renting space in our soon-to-be-built winery.
Stephen and Shannon have just decided to break ground on an outbuilding to house winemaking equipment for their vineyard and other local wineries.
You could get some rent for the space.
Wait a minute. You mean money coming into the vineyard?
You could actually have some money coming in.
We'll actually make money on this venture for a period of time.
But a $40,000 equipment building is not in the schedule or the budget.
We figured out what it was going to take to build this house, and we pushed our finances to the edge. We have to redo our entire financial plan. We've got probably 2 days of moving rocks around before they can even get to the site.
But breaking ground on the equipment building this late in the game could jeopardize everything.
That building takes 3 weeks to put up, so we won't be able to get our occupancy permit if those guys are still out there working on that.
And a surprise drainage problem on the building site isn't helping.
Ron said something about building this up, putting about 3 or 4 feet of dirt out here so that water will naturally run down around the parking lot, go around the building and not kind of collect at the foot of it.
And that means trucking in dirt. 80 truckloads in all.
That would have cost us a fortune.
But this dirt is arriving free of charge.
There's always people looking for dirt, and there's always people looking to get rid of dirt. Some guy just called Ron out of the blue and said, hey, I'm doing some excavation. And Ron said, yeah, he goes, I have a place where that stuff could really come in handy.
But free dirt won't help the schedule, which is tighter than ever now that the new equipment building is going up.
Even if the house is done, part of the zoning checklist is no dumpsters. Everything has to be rake seeded and strawed. I can't have it half done when we go to get our occupancy permit.
We got all these promises. Oh, don't worry, you're gonna be fine, you'll be in, everything's gonna be great, and that's not gonna happen. And now it's on our shoulders to figure it out.
I say probably 70-30. We should be able to get the occupancy.
We got a 50-50 shot at getting in there right now, and I think that's being hopeful.
The frantic pace to finish on time is taking a devastating toll.
I feel like I've aged 10 years in the past 4.
But there's no letting up now.
It all boils down to the last 6 weeks, and everybody's under the gun.
There isn't any energy left.
More than 10 months after work began,
My task for the foreseeable future is to paint everything.
the rooms in Stephen and Shannon's dream house are getting their first coat of paint.
This room is going to be the guest room and eventually one of our kids' rooms.
And the tile work is almost finished.
This will be done on Tuesday. Except for the paint. Shannon's still figuring out exactly how she wants to do the design, but it's going to be a very adorable little bathroom when it's done.
I think his work looks great. I mean, I'm very impressed with the tile work. It may have taken him a little bit longer than it would us, but I mean, it looks great.
It's also a budget saver, thanks to Stephen's sweat equity.
To tile a bathroom that size could be anywhere from, $2,500 to $4,000 in labor and markup, whereas for the tile alone, it's probably less than $400 in material.
But there's still a lot of work to do.
Steve, he's got a lot in front of him.
And just under 6 weeks left to finish the job.
Steven still has to do all the railings and everything else. If Steven didn't have to do the railings, I'd feel much better. The railings are what just bother me the most, because that's a huge project. He's never done it before.
hiring help is not an option.
It's just not part of our financial plan. The money that it would take to pay somebody else to do it is our financial cushion. And now having children, it's just not a territory that I'm willing to go. You can't just say, oh, you know what, I'm tired, I think I'll pay somebody else to do it. Because in a very real sense, you're taking money away from something else that I'm just not willing to take it away from. It's the kids.
And the work keeps piling up. The materials for the new equipment building have arrived.
If he's still planning on tackling everything, it's going to be tight.
I'm just in a plane of exhaustion that I've never been in before.
We're just trying to get the occupancy permit by May 9th. That doesn't mean everything's finished, and that doesn't mean we're actually living in the house yet. So that's just getting the papers so we don't have to go back to the bank and get more money.
There isn't any energy left. There isn't any more hours left in the day to get all the stuff done.
We're taking it one day at a time to see what we can do.
It seems like if you got 6 months or you got 2 years, it all boils down to the last 6 weeks, and everybody's, under the gun.
I'm terribly proud of what we're accomplishing here. But I feel like I've aged 10 years in the past 4. Easy. My 35th birthday, I feel like I was 25. My 39th birthday, I'm gonna feel like I'm 50.
He's got a lot of pressure, and he just wants to get in, and he wants to get, us safe in the house and, be settled, and it's just taking longer.
Next time on Dream House. The equipment building goes up, but so could the budget.
And it's gonna cost us, who knows? We don't even know what it's gonna cost us.
There's a big problem getting electricians out on the job.
There's no one at the house, and I was like, okay, they're all fired.
The vineyard work is way behind schedule.
And got about 2 weeks to get it done.
The push to finish the inside of the house is taking a toll on the family.
I just need to get this house done so that I can take care of my boys properly.
And the deadline to move in is closing fast.
How many 12 and 14 and 16-hour days can you just physically run together in a row and still keep standing up?
Right now, there's no way we're gonna make this deadline.
That's next time on Dream House.